Captain Christopher. The drummer boy held his wounded captain and tried to explain. It was not about the killing to Captain Christopher. Rather, it was about the precision, the use of space, the organization of dots in some array that only he could see. It was not about the shell fire that he could bring down on the enemy. It seemed in musical timing. To watch the good captain's cannon, all 12 of them, go off one after the other in rapid fire, and then to observe his men, so inspired by their commander's vision of precision. To watch such men reload those 12-pounders over there as fast as they did, well, it was to this young drummer boy a thing of beauty. But like Captain Christopher taught me, it was not about the killing. The captain compared his composition to a night at the opera, his opera, and often he would speak before an engagement after the following manner. Well, my good and brave lads, after studying the works of those who have decided not only not to stand with us, but who have in fact and in bloody deed determined in their misguided souls to stand against us, well, for your sakes then, and not in hatred of their sakes, but in response to their rejection of our beloved Union, have I composed an aria of the position's swift and fiery destruction. For I have seen the weakness in their lines, and have detected the phrase of their dissent, and found it flawed. This aria bombardment we shall again entitle Destroyer of Worlds, and again our aria shall sound just like artillery, but with such singing in it that we shall not tire at our posts, but shall quite literally whistle battlements away. The captain, I say, was beautiful. The captain had a signature sound. His Michigan regulars knew that sound well and welcomed it to the field. For when the 12th cannon of Captain Christopher's 12th Field Artillery B fired, there was always a pause until the curtain of smoke lifted ever so slightly. In that quiet lifting, there was always some movement in the smoky mist, and it was at that moment and at that movement the captain would point, and the first 3 cannon would fire in unison. It was a tremendous crescendo, and would always be answered with cries of mercy from the broken lines of the enemy. The captain would again command the silence, waiting upon his horse, sitting high to see further signs. It didn't matter the cries, no more, that sprang from new ruins. The captain, deafened by his score, could not hear them. The captain fired his second 3 in unison into any movement, and the third 3 if he had to, until nothing moved at all. And when nothing moved at last, there was never any sound left when the hearing did return. But again, it was never about the killing to the captain. Captain Christopher called his concentrated fire the crescendo of our coup de grace. Such unified firing, that is, the noise of 3 cannon at once after the last thunderous but single cannon 12, was a specialty maneuver developed by Captain Christopher and was used to great effect. Captain Christopher was known to be called in by battalion consistently to review enemy fortifications so that, as the tone-deaf brass often put it, the captain may plan a concerto for the enemy's destruction. And while it was well known to everyone that the captain's concertos were really symphonies of death set to a tempo for dismemberment of men, no one spoke of such things to the captain. It was, after all, not about the killing. It was about the music of perfectly timed cannon fire, the precision and placement of that fire, and more than anything, the safety of his own men, his own musically murderous men who played his fire instruments. Captain Christopher was given the 12 best cannon teams in the Federal Army of the Potomac, 24 cannoneers who had loaded and fired under fire for 4 years now. In 63 engagements upon fixed positions, the enemy lost every man. We were never survivors of captains' precision cannonades. It was not about the killing of the enemy to the captain, though. It was always about saving the lives of his own men. This was the inspiration for such music as only this captain could make, because while it was the men, those amazing musicians who fired under fire, who actually played the instrument of cannon, each soldier knew his music meant nothing without this conducting captain, for the captain could break Confederate lines when nothing else worked. It's true. Captain Christopher drew a loud orchestral score, felt under the skin, in thunder and in heat. Men would perish under such lightning and sound, die from fragmented bomb bursts and falling splintered limbs of tall trees and descending men. But I repeat, it was not about the killing for Captain Christopher. It couldn't be about such things. Captain's order, his unfailing precision and timing, and attention to elevation and wind and sunlight and humidity even, all these things that his battery of cannon were about. Certainly not about killing anybody, not any enemy or animal even that I know. You don't know shit, you little book boy bastard, Corporal Dane snapped, clear and sudden. How about I slice them wide wagon ears of yours right off your stupid little skull, throw 'em in the fire there, let 'em pop and crackle while you listen if you can over your own screams, you ignorant murderous little shit chicken. Captain Cable Kent just looked up at John Dane, curious how this stuttering corporal could speak so clearly sometimes in his hatred. I thought we was friends, the young drummer boy whispered in new terror. The drummer boy looked to the newly arrived captain to save him from this accompanying ferocious man, now towering over their stooping numbers like a dirty, blood-hungry lion, blond mane waving in the acrid wind, blue eyes full of rage and tearful fury. Even after such slaughter as lay around them now, the boy had never felt so close to his own death, no, not all day as now. So intimate the knife upon his own head seemed as he watched the knees of the corporal, now watching him. Captain Kent ignored the boy. Another captain of the same uniform, Captain Christopher, was bleeding badly from his own recent torture. Men shake under the pressure of great pain, and Captain Christopher was in full shudder now, the regiment of his own body wanting to scatter in every direction from being literally overrun, but held in tether by sweating skin and unutterable grief of losing his own right hand, in addition to his beloved battery. Captain Christopher's right hand had just been removed with his own saber by an avenging Confederate cavalryman. Only now, both the avenging torturer and the torturer's horse lay dead and still before the tortured Captain Christopher. Some minutes before Captain Christopher's torture, another captain, Captain Cable Kent, and an extremely accurate and dangerous rifleman, Corporal John Dane, had watched Captain Christopher and his beloved musical 12th Field Artillery, 24 men, get surprised and slaughtered by what appeared to be the remnants of a crack Confederate cavalry unit. The rebel numbers were half of Captain Christopher's, but with surprise and a fair amount of hatred, the Confederate assault was successful, if suicidal. There were only 3 survivors of the minutes-long engagement, the drummer boy, Captain Christopher, and the last vengeful rebel cavalryman. 500 yards away, Captain Kent and Corporal Dane had watched the whole war, it seemed, from bombardment to point-blank rifle fights to hand. And just when the smoke cleared in Cable's glass, Cable watched Captain Christopher lose his right hand. Cable had dropped his field glass down to his own lap then. Yes, Cable had just seen a brother officer lose a hand by the enemy. Cable could see that Dane was waiting for the order to shoot the Confederate. Dane had his Sharps rifle ready. Surely the good captain will give the order this time, thought Dane. Captain Kent had whispered to Corporal Dane, even as he watched Captain Christopher's hand fall into the fire through his field glass. I know what you must do, Corporal. I only ask that you suffer the rebel officer not to suffer. Kill him quickly, not as last time, John, not as last time. You must take his life from him in one shot, John. I know you can do it, not little by little again, not that way ever again. We are soldiers, not demons. We are men, not devils. Corporal Dane took his aim, let his breath go, and a .52 caliber rifled slug with it. Captain Kent watched the gray coat drop with the young man inside it. Then Cable heard another shot that he did not order, and Cable knew, without his field glass, that the torturer's horse was dead too. "Why must you kill the man's horse too?" Cable complained. "'Cause I hate the enemy and his horse," Dane explained yet again. "Animals are innocent, John. You must not kill animals for your hate," Cable instructed as he stood up. Corporal Dane blew the smoke from his barrel. He stood up as well, towering over his captain like a gentle, if killing, giant. Dane tried to speak, to explain himself again, why the horse had to die. But Dane can't. Why? How can Captain Kent make Corporal Dane feel ashamed for doing what a rifleman does best, that is, kill the enemy and the friend of his enemy too? Captain Kent continued, "The horse and the dog are a friend to all mankind, John. Your mind, your consciousness, let me back up and try again. How do I put this? Your hardened heart, John. Well, it's somehow in my protection, you see. Your soul is my son in a way I cannot readily explain to you now." And, frustrated, Captain Kent spat. Just stop killing innocent animals, Corporal. You understand me?" Cable finished abruptly, harder than he had ever finished with Dane before. Finishing hard with a man like Dane was a dangerous business for anyone, especially when Dane's blood was already up. Only in Dane's hardened heart he knew the captain was trying to save another soul, like some preacher maybe. But not really. Not like any preacher Dane had ever known before. It seemed the captain really did ache for the animals Dane had sacrificed to his own hatred. Dane had tried to make the captain understand. The friend of my enemy is my enemy also. Didn't matter the dog was noble and would not leave the body of his master. Dane had shot the dog too. Didn't matter the indifferent rump of the torturer's horse. There was a bullet for that intelligent beast as well. Corporal Dane complained in return, but stuttering, as he usually did, except, of course, when Dane was angry. Only Dane wasn't angry now. Dane was confused. You care more about the dogs and the horses, it seems to me. Captain Kent did not respond. That was usual. The captain's response would come, though, maybe in a week, maybe in minutes, maybe never. The two scout-forward observers led their own horses stealthily down the hill toward Dane's newest kills, yet another Confederate soldier and the soldier's horse. Cable continued quietly. There was an aching inside this strange captain that even Dane could feel. Like all horses were the captain's childhood mount, and all dogs were his first pet. Silence between them as they moved with the terrain. Smell of gun smoke and burning wagons with hints of bacon in the wind. What was it about this Missouri man that a Kansan like Dane just could not learn to hate? Though Dane wanted to hate him, for good military reasons. In Dane's mind, the constant call to peace and restraint in wartime was suicide in the field. Only three things real in battle: enemy, rifle, life. Hating horses and killing dogs, shooting young men in the face where blemishes bloom under peach fuzz and soft skin, is what Dane did. The nature of warfare is sanctioned assassination. How can a man of the captain's obvious understanding not understand this? Finally, after long minutes, Captain Kent said, "You a good soldier, Corporal, not saying you ain't." Cable stops and looks up at Dane. "But this ain't about your soldiering. This here killing innocents, well, it's about your soul." The captain stepped closer to Dane, standing literally in his shadow. A harder tone in the captain's voice now, like a father fed up with an unruly son who absolutely will not listen. "So, in the earnest of your soul, and given in the only language you seem to understand." Cable hesitates. He knows he's on unholy ground here. Dane is a killer, and that's a piece of intelligence one would do well not to forget in the lonesome field. So in common sense respect, but without fear, Captain Cable continues, quiet and calmly, as one about to enter the lion's den. And the only language you seem to understand, John. You kill one more horse, one more enemy dog, and son, I'm going to have to call you out for a Missouri ass whooping. Dane was surprised at his captain. Surely it would be a terrible thing to lift his giant hands against this good man, even in self-defense. Dane would not. No, he simply would not ever lift a hand against his captain. The thought shamed him. I guess the captain is serious about the killing of the enemy's friends. While the captain would not be an easy man to beat, still Dane knew he could. The captain, good and strong as he was, still was terribly overmatched with John Dane. Most men were. Dane knew it, knew himself as a murderous thing. For the captain to say such a thing here, now, in such conditions as this, just them alone, in hostile lands, when Dane's blood was already up, well, my. The captain just kept growing in stature and in courage before Dane's very eyes. Only a fool or a holy man would threaten John Dane with a whipping. And the captain was no fool. Dane finally heard him, and it hurt somehow to know he had failed to hear him earlier. I'm sorry, sir. I'll kill no more innocents, John returns. A distant cry of shame called from inside somewhere, though Dane knew not where. And then they arrived at the scene of Corporal Dane's latest sanctioned assassinations. Peaceful cannon perfect in a row. Nothing overturned but men of various uniforms burning all around from kegs of scattered gunpowder. Beautiful, colorful uniforms, once red and gray and blue, now black and full of orange fire and roasted men. And at the end of the unfortunate row of dead, there sat a shaking Federal artillery captain named Christopher, accompanied by a young boy of 14 or so. There also lay a dying Confederate beside his dead horse. I ask you to kill him quickly, Corporal. Why does this young man yet live? Cable whispers upon their arrival. He shouldn't be living, Captain. I swear I put one base of his skull. Why he's breathing ain't natural. Maybe he's a demon like you say. Hell, I'll gladly put one in him again. Dane points his large Sharps rifle with one hand toward the young officer, who is paralyzed in pain, a plump, apple-sized exit wound just beneath his chin. How his head is still on, or his eyes still open, or his mouth still moving, is an awful miracle. Cable lifts his hand to stop Dane. They say the tongues of dying men enforce attention like deep harmony. Where words are scarce, they are seldom spent in vain. Cable squats by the dying boy, removing his own gloves, and continues. For they breathe truth, who breathe their words in pain. Cable quotes Shakespeare in remembrance of this soon-to-be-dead rebel son. Cable kneels down and puts his ear to the young soldier's moving, gaping mouth. Say it, son. Say what you can and then let go. Ain't no shame in dying now. Let go, son. What you done here, take a man's hand in your hate? Just say what you got to say and then let go of your life here. The dying young officer whispers, I can't see nothing. I want to see them trees once more before I die. Love them trees. The rebel soldier jerks violently. A great gob of blood issues from his wound. He dies, eyes wide open and blind. Cable looks to the bleeding Captain Christopher, who is staring blankly at his own hand in the fire. Corporal Dane, Cable snaps. Sir? Dane returns sharply. Secure the captain. Sir? Hold him, John. We got to put his nub in the fire, stop the bleeding. Sir? Yes, sir. Corporal Dane moves in behind the wounded officer, clasps the man in his giant embrace, and clamps down on him with a goodly portion of his tremendous might. Cable takes the captain's bloody forearm and points it into the fire. And the Captain Christopher doesn't scream. The captain doesn't even protest. The captain just watches his severed hand fry in the fire, some strange inches from his own sizzling wrist. Rather, it is the drummer boy who cries out. Then the cauterizing is over. Corporal Dane lays Captain Christopher back onto the ground. He continues to dress the wound and cover it with his own giant coat. The boy flies to Captain Christopher's side and cries like a child, and through his tears tells the story of the musical Captain Christopher, that it was never about the killing. You make me sick, boy, Dane spits. The boy dares not look up. The shots that killed the torturer and his horse came from a great distance. As the Confederate's throat burst forth in silence, and then, a second later, the thunderous shot was heard. And Captain Christopher's salvation came from those shots, and the long rifle this giant carried must have made them. So why does this grimy savior hate a drumming boy for loving his own captain? And will this other captain save a boy from this murderous and mean Jesus? What you said about your Captain Christopher, about music and murder and cannon fire and no mercy? Come here, you little bastard. I'm going to show you what your beloved Captain Christopher there really is. And Corporal Dane grabs the boy by the hair and drags him down into the valley of death where Captain Christopher had trained his awful fire, his unrelenting and dismembering fire. You think this is glorious, you little titty boy? Dane holds the boy's head up like it was a severed thing, makes the lad look at the limbs and entrails of his enemy, strewn in gory guts and bisected bodies over blown-up battlements. You ever once come under artillery fire, you damn little dog, John hisses. Cable just looks on, watching, waiting for John to come to the end of his lesson. Hearing you talk like your Captain Christopher over there is some kind of musician. He's a goddamn to hell killer, no different than me, except I ain't near as effective as he is. Dane drops the child and his connected head onto the corpse of a dead Confederate not much older than the drummer boy. Dead eyes meet terrified eyes, and the drummer boy understands the true nature of cannon fire for the first time. I ought to kill you, son, right now. I hate you and your kind more than snake bite in summer heat, Dane screams. Cable stands and stiffens. The comparatively tiny drummer boy is quite literally face to face with Big Death. Dane continues in a lower tone. See my captain over there? Now he's a good man. Me, I ain't. And I know I ain't. And I ain't allowed to kill no more innocent. But you, lad, you ain't no innocent. You either blind with your head so far up your captain's asshole that you can't see what he is for all his shit about music and murder. God damn how I hate you, boy. Stay down there with the dead a while. Get to know what your good captain done. Stay there, boy. Hide there from me. I swear, God, you stand up and I'll tear your body apart and throw your head like a rock into the water. You savvy my meaning, boy? Stay down there with the dead or die. And as suddenly as it began, the lesson was over. Corporal Dane was spent at last. The drummer boy hid beside the body and in the blood of his enemy. Cable looked back to Captain Christopher, who had watched the whole scene. Captain Christopher's large, light eyes now flowed with generous tears for all he had done to his enemy, to his men, and now to his adopted, war-orphaned drummer boy's son. Corporal Dane staggered on through the battlefield, 50 dead who had nowhere to go when the shelling started. Captain Christopher killed them all, but it was not the killing that tortured Dane now. Rather, it was Kansas and his own father, who had taught Dane's own 14-year-old son to hate Missouri and its men, to hate them like Dane hated this defenseless drummer boy now. Dane was not gathering ghosts here of Confederate dead. Dane was hating himself and the boy he had just threatened to kill, and Dane was not asking why Dane had lived, and his own beloved father and his only son did not. Dane knew his father well enough, knew him for a murderous man of Missouri and of their horses too. What made Dane's father hate Missouri so much that he brought such murderous hatred home to Kansas? No matter, his day was done. Soon it would be night, and the good Captain Christopher would be screaming in pain and fevered fear. Let them leave the boy and his captain dad to their own comeuppance. Surely Captain Kent will see there is nothing more to save here. Did he kill my son? Captain Christopher asked Captain Kent. No, answers Cable quietly. Will he kill my son? Captain Christopher asked. I reckon if the boy gets up from his place with the dead, then the boy, yes. I reckon the boy will die, most certainly, Cable said. Stay still, son. Stay still, my boy. Don't move. Please. Please don't move. Captain Christopher calls out, using the last of his strength. He falls back hard to the ground into unconsciousness. Cable knows they must leave now. There is nothing to be done here. They must move on before Corporal Dane regains his hate. For now is the time of love and memory in Dane. Cable knows the hard bones of this giant are bending under the strain of a terrific grief. Maybe someday John will snap and just die from the pain inside him, but now, today, there's the familiar bending and silent wailing of a completely broken-hearted man, stumbling about his dead enemy, trying to find his hatred in their pockets, unable to feel anything but the burning in his own boots as he wakes again and again in a dusty Lawrence street, not 6 months before, staring into his own loving son's dead face. This is too much. This is too much, Cable whispers to himself. I can bear this pain, this rebellion no more. I cannot do it. Cable walks to the boy, now shivering in fright and numb with shock. We're going to leave on out of here, boy. Your captain will need you tonight. You keep him warm, you hear? Keep that fire stoked. You burn wagon wheels if you got it. You keep that fire hot or he'll die. Fever gonna come hard at him like cavalry, son. You got to stand with him, sit with him, hold on to him. Don't let him jump and run, trying to get away from his pain. I've seen it before. Pain and fever gonna come to kill him, sure as rebel cavalry did here today. Somehow, some way, y'all took enflating fire down your line and still stood to the last man. There's honor in that boy. Your captain ain't a bad man. He just, I don't know, but he ain't a bad man. He stood, and you didn't run. So you must have some sand in you, too. The corporal there just trying to teach you something, I don't know, something he learned long ago. Maybe when he was your age now. Who can say, well, don't stick your head up till we long time gone. Corporal there can kill you from long time away. So just stay down there a while. Then louder over his own shoulder. You gonna get your coat, Corporal? Gonna get your coat from off the captain. We moving out now. Cable orders abruptly. Dane stands over Captain Christopher and stares vacantly at the wounded man. He peels his own coat away and wears it again, absently like a statue. No music now from this artillery officer. Dane looks back around at the quiet cannons, surrounded by their gut-shot and throat-slashed cannoneers. The ugly, asymmetrical fire crackles and pops loudly and throws an ember at John's feet. He steps on the bright red coal and feels the heat, watches the brown smoke come out from under his worn soul. There it is, pain, the burning pain that brings him back into his body, back into the present of willful war and sanctioned assassination. Now, Corporal, now, man up, soldier, Cable orders as he hands John the reins of his war horse. John mounts up swiftly, smoothly, with the speed and grace of a small boy. Soon it will be darkness and fear like the drummer boy has never imagined. For nothing terrifies the soul like losing someone you love. There will be no music, and no silence either. The boy will become a man tonight, or he will not. What did Dane become when he was forced to lay down with the dead? Did a man rise up a better man that day in Lawrence? Or did a demon rise up as him in the place of a broken father could not bear to be? What did Cable become when he died for an hour, so long ago in another country? And did Devi die for nothing? For Cable to be here now, so lost in his own divided land? Nothing coming to nothing? Oh, that Cable could have stayed dead with Devi. How he longed to smell her black hair again, fragrant with cinnamon and oils from the east, and it seemed even as far away as heaven. To think how that same beautiful black hair had burned on a funeral pyre, and the smell of her pure flesh frying like a murderous hand in a war fire, now behind him, it was just too much. It was all too much tonight. The two men rode into the darkness of nightfall in their own separate dejection, each with each, clenched in a pain that hurt them both like a severed hand that gripped them strangely, cut and thrown into the fire of a despair that was gagging their mutually breaking hearts. Only animals were innocent, and John knew this now. In the quiet, John Dane knew he would never hurt another animal again. And to Captain Christopher, who would soon face the fiery torments of a fevered hell, it was now all about the killing. Was he sorry for his sin as he lay shivering there, weeping for his son living somewhere among the new dead below him? Only when darkness came did the drummer boy dare to lift his head. "Captain," he called, faint at first, then louder. "Captain! Captain!" No answer then. "Papa? Papa, are you there?" No answer still. What will rise up now to find his father? Will it be a man made in blood and pain, forged in the crackling fires of his adopted daddy's severed hand? Or will a demon rise up in a child's stead, who could not bear to huddle in human guts, living his whole unmeasured life in an hour among the rebellious dead? Even the boy did not know now. Now the drummer boy sits and holds his shivering captain dad. Soon the fevered cavalry will come. The boy's lost heart stiffens, but then recovers. Let them come then. Let them come.